Well, hello again. I knew you'd come crawling back. Anyway, so guess what I watched today? I watched the 1988 remake of The Blob, famous for its, they call it melt horror. So if you're not sure what melt horror is, it's basically people melting. Yeah, good times, right? So, yeah, as usual, spoiler alert, blah, 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 you know the drill by now. I'm going to be talking about crap that happened in the movie, etc., etc. Considering how long the last one was, I'm really going to try to rush through this one and keep it, like, at least under 15 minutes this time. So, movie starts off with something that they don't do in movies anymore. I remember a lot of those older movies, they used to have, like, opening credits where they'd set the mood. You just see the scenery, whatever, instead of just jumping right into the movie and then playing the opening credits over top of like a scene that's happening. And kind of missed that a little bit. It's good for world building, but also at the same time, just get to the movie. Some of them went on way too long. Anyway, just a little unrelated thing I thought I would mention. So it starts off typical 80s movie fashion. High school football game or college football game or something, whatever. The team wins the big game, blah 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 blah. One of the players and his buddy are talking about going on dates with these cheerleaders or something like that. So of course they go run and they buy the necessary equipment, which in 1988 apparently was Trojan condoms and Banaka. If you remember what Banaka is. I don't even know if they still make that anymore, but anyway, that's neither here or there. So they go on this date, and they're going driving, and well, okay. So the weird thing is about this movie is they set up like a bunch of characters that you think are going to be important. So there's like a sheriff who has a date with this diner lady. There's like a guy in a leather jacket who's supposed to be like the certified badass who like tries to do a jump over a bridge and wipes out. There's a homeless guy who like laughs and makes fun of him, which is pretty good. There's the teen Paul who has this date with this cheerleader girl Meg or whatever. His buddy. There's like kids, like his sister or whatever. There's a reverend, the parents, the deputy. Like there's a ton of people built up as like characters. And a lot of them friggin' just die. Like, good on you, Blob. But anyway, so he's driving, and so dude bro on the bike who is like the certified badass of the movie, leather jacket, mullet, the whole thing, tries to do a bridge jump, whatever, wipes out. Anyway, he busts up his bike, goes to the mechanic shop, I guess his boss or whatever, borrows some tools, goes back, starts fixing his bike there, and then this homeless guy that was making fun of him, like, jumps out and starts screaming and, like, tries to cut his hand off in front of the kid, and he's like, what the f*** is going on? And then he runs off, and he chases the guy down, and he has this thing on his hand, which, the night before, a meteor crashed by where the homeless guy was, and the homeless guy pokes it with a stick, which is a brilliant idea when you see a meteor open, glowing with like pulsating blob inside it. You definitely want to approach it and poke it with something because, logic would dictate that is the best course of action. Anyway, he's got a little tiny like blobish thing on his hand. The blob, obviously. They take him to the hospital. He runs out and then certified badass chases him into the street, which Paul and Meg, who are on their date, hit him with the car, and they're like, what are you doing chasing him? Obviously, you're the certified badass, but you're the one who is, like, chasing him or tormenting this old man. We're going to the hospital now, blah, blah, they take him to the hospital. The guy's like, they don't give a shit about our story, so I'm out of here. Certified badass leaves. Paul and Meg are Paul's filling out paperwork or whatever. They ask if the homeless guy has Blue Cross. Yeah, I'm sure he has insurance, the homeless guy, but whatever. Paul goes and gets a soda or whatever and starts hearing things and goes and checks on the old man, and the old man is like bloated and the blob is in him basically, and he's like making gross faces and like freaking out. So he runs to get this doctor who's in the I guess he's talking to like a patient. I think it was like the husband's in palliative care or something, and it's like, I'm with a customer. He's like, there's a guy dying here, and they go and like the guy's dead by the time they get there, and they're looking, and he's like, they lift the sheet, and like it had burned through his like stomach and burnt him in half essentially, and the doctor's like, what the fuck? So Paul freaks out and he goes and he runs to a phone and starts calling for the sheriff, and like, you got to come down to the hospital, blah 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 blah. And then there's like dripping stuff on the desk that he doesn't notice until it's too late. Paul dies. They show a pretty graphic clip of the Blob dissolving him, so there's your melt horror right there. So you get to see him like melting inside the Blob, being digested. Good times. Yeah, there's that. Meg goes to find him, saying, well, it doesn't take that long to get a soda, and sees him basically being digested by this Blob. So she's having the worst date ever. Like, it's not a good time, you know. She takes off. Cops arrive. Blob's gone. No one believes her, obviously, even though there's like melted people like in the hospital everywhere. But no, don't believe her. She's insane. Give her medication and everything. She's at home. She sneaks out, obviously. Side story that's happening at the same time. Her little brother and his buddy, who their plan was to tell each other's parents that they were sleeping at the other one's house. They could go see the slasher pick, which is like Jason essentially. They show like a guy in a hockey mask on the screen, but he has a chainsaw too. So I don't know, leather facing. I don't know, that's stupid. But anyway, they go see this movie, and yeah, the Blob goes to the theater. I guess it wants to see the movie too. So first it obviously kills the projectionist, which you gotta do. When his boss comes up to investigate, kills him too, because, you know, two birds, one stone. He's getting shit done, man. You gotta give the Blob props. Like, he's not pissing around. So yeah, that happens, and then it sneaks, I guess, through the projector window onto the roof, and there's this really obnoxious guy who's like telling the whole movie and pissing off the two kids that snuck in to see it. And the Blob reaches down and grabs them, pulls them up, and starts eating them. And starts eating all these people and everything. And it's a cool scene. Like, the Blob is right in the middle, and it's like grabbing people and stuff. And the effects are actually pretty good for 1988. So awesome scene. Props to whoever did that. Yeah, and obviously Meg somehow finds out that her brother and his buddy are at the movies. So she goes to try to get them. And there's a woman on the ground and all the chaos, and she's like going to help her and picks her up, and her face obviously is melted and stuck to the thing. So she's like, what the fuck? Experiencing your hospital stay all over again. But, or not stay, but whatever. Bear with me one moment. There we go. So, takes the kids, gets out of there. All the meantime, the sheriff, who has a date that we introduced in the beginning of the story, sheriff has a date, and he's looking, and it's like, she gave him a note saying she's off at 11, and it's after 11, and he's like, she's not here yet. So he leaves the station to go to the diner. And at the diner right now, this happened before the theater. Okay, fuck this up again. Anyway, at the diner, Certified Badass and Meg are chilling and having pie and stuff, and then the chef gets killed by the Blob, who sucks him through the garbage disposal, and he's like, they find him there and freaking out. And so the waitress who has the date with the sheriff runs to a payphone gets swallowed. The Blob slowly is like dripping down it as she's frantically trying to get the sheriff, and then she sees the sheriff's like partially dissolved body push up against the glass from inside the Blob, so he's fucking dead. Just wrote him off pretty quickly, and obviously she dies as well. The thing collapses, it just eats her. Good times. So that's another one off that we thought was going to be something. Oh yeah, and then there's like a lover's lane scene where Paul's buddy and his girlfriend are there or whatever, and he's getting her drunk and being a pervy teenage guy, and he goes to cop a feel, but when he comes back with another drink, and the Blob is inside her already, half digesting her, and goes to grab her boob, and it like sucks his arm in and kills him, so that's good. You know, you never go to lover's lane. That's just, you're gonna die by a monster of some kind. It's just a rule, so don't do that. Some valuable life lessons here, honestly. So yeah, all that's happening. Lots of kills. Honestly, there were quite a few, and a lot of them were graphic, which is awesome. Because if you're gonna watch a movie like this, and you know what you're expecting, obviously that's the reason you want to watch it. So they did not disappoint with that. Anyway, they certified badass and no, not okay. Sorry. So Meg and the two kids, she finds them and they go through the sewer to try to escape. Meanwhile, there's this whole quarantine thing happening. So government officials, it's revealed that they are the ones behind this microbe that went colossal. It's like a biological warfare, and it was on a satellite to, I guess it got like gamma rayed or something and fell back to Earth, and they're on a mission to contain it. Basically, civilians are expendable, but you can't let them know. Just say it's like a viral outbreak or something, which in perspective now in 2024 is a lot more horrifying than a blob almost. I mean, we lived that shit, right? So no, blob would be worse. Right, so where was I? Sewer, right, okay. So there's one of the they're in like containment suits or whatever, and one of the containment suit guys is stuck in the sewer with them, and they're trying to get out, and the head government guy is like, no, everyone's expendable, they're probably infected, just we're locking them in there. So they put the manhole on as they're climbing up to escape. They think that they're going to be rescued, but no, not happening. And then they park a car on top of the manhole, so they're stuck. So that's a good time. Turns out, very, very conveniently, the contamination suit guy in the sewer has a bazooka with him, so that's pretty cool. I mean, you know, some things just fall into place in life, right? And this was one of those times. So they shoot it up at the manhole, blowing it open. The car that was parked in it goes flying, it's in flames, whatever. And they climb out. They end up knocking the gun out of one of the containment guy's hands, and there's a standoff. And then the deputy that earlier in the movie was giving certified badass shit throughout the whole movie. Brian, that's fucking name. I'm gonna keep calling him certified badass. Kept giving him heck throughout the beginning of the movie, and like the sheriff was even defending him a little bit, saying he's a badass. He's not a killer though. Like, fucking. Anyway, he has his gun, and he's like, okay, shit's going on. Why are these containment guys aiming a gun at a civilian, whether or not he's a good civilian or not? So he pulls his gun. He's like, okay, drop your weapons, everyone. Just lower them. We're gonna talk. No one listens. The head government guy is like, fuck it, just grabs the gun to go shoot certified badass. But that's when the blob comes out of the sewer and like erupts through the street, and this, you know, chunks of pavement and everything go flying, and it's fucking huge now. Like, it's massive. Oh, actually, forgot a part. In the sewer before they get out, they show a child death, which obviously this makes me sound morbid as hell. I'm not like, yay, dead kids, but like, any movie who has the balls to show a child like getting killed, I have to kind of give them a little bit of props. Like, again, you know, like in real life, no, but in a movie, everyone's fair game. You're gonna kill man, woman, dog, kill a kid too, like whatever. Just like, anyway, they did go out of their way with this one to make up, I guess, for thousands of horror movies not killing children, because they show the kid getting melt poured. So yeah, so it was Meg's brother's friend, I believe, that got melted. And the brother survives, I think. Anyway, yeah, so fast forward, all the stuff happens, we're back at the standoff, Blob erupts out of the street, sucks the head contamination guy into the sewer. He's toast, goes in his suit, you can see his face like getting swallowed by Blob inside of his like protective mask. So those containment suits really did a lot, apparently, so that's very good. And yeah, it goes in the street, starts grabbing everyone, you know, the usual Blob stuff. And then certified badass runs to his mechanic's place and gets this snowmaking truck, which I guess they do for like the Santa Claus parade or something, and it like is compressed cold air and makes snow, like actual legit snow. Now, I don't know, I assume these things must exist. I've never seen one because I live in Winnipeg, so I mean, why would we have a thing that makes snow when like half of the year is it? But anyway, they get this thing and they're like, cold hurts it. Because when they were in the diner, they realized that when they were in the freezer, the Blob tried to go under the door and it touched the cold and it frigged right off. It's like, I'm not dealing with that. It's chilly. You know, perky nips, I don't need that. So, yeah, so they take this truck and his plan is basically to spray, you know, snow on it and freeze it and maybe it'll kill it, who knows. Anyway, he drives like a certified badass because he flips the vehicle and it goes flying, and the tank of snow compressed cold flies off and lands somewhere and whatever. And the girl grabs Meg, goes to help him because he's stuck in the truck, and the blob is like trying to eat him through the truck. It's slowly breaking the windshield, and then the containment guy starts shooting at it with like M16s because it's a gelatinous blob which will obviously be hurt by bullets. Like, the logic is ridiculous. They do wise up and eventually use a flamethrower, which backfires because the blob plugs it like Bugs Bunny putting a carrot in Elmer Fudd's gun and fucking sprays stuff. The guy explodes or catches on fire or something, and like the Reverend gets sprayed with it and he's on fire, and just good times all around. It was a fun movie, seriously. If you're not getting that from this, like, legitimately, the 1998 remake of The Blob, go watch it. I rented it on YouTube. It was like $5. Absolutely worth every penny of it. Anyway, truck flips over. It's compressing on the guys. The guy's shooting it, somehow distract it, because I guess it does care about bullets, maybe. So it like leaves the truck alone. Meg runs up and like gets him out, and then she has like a grenade bag that she's gonna put in the truck to make the compressed cold fly over, and I guess like through like the radius of the blast, enough cold would get the blob and it would theoretically kill it, I guess she's thinking. So she does that, but then she jumps off and Murphy's Law, her foot gets stuck on a cable, so she's stuck hanging upside down on the side of this flipped over truck with no way to get down while a bomb is ticking down and about to explode a bunch of cold everywhere. Luckily, Certified Badass runs up and frees her, and then it explodes, and like snow and cold fly everywhere, and then the blob is crystallized, and it's just in like little chunks. So containment guys are like, hey, we got to get it to like a deep freeze or whatever. Or maybe it was the civilians, I don't even remember at this point. I was just enamored, what is the word? Just like enjoying the scenery of the movie, aka Blob killing and eating people. Yeah, and then that's essentially where it ends. Then they cut to this like epilogue part where the Reverend survived. He's a little bit burnt. He lost one of his eyes or whatever from the flamethrower backfiring on him, but he's preaching, and he's like, clearly he's lost his mind, because at the end they show him in his, spoilers again, I'm going to talk about the exact end scene. He's in the back, and some woman's like, hey Reverend, you were talking about, the end times and stuff. When's it coming? He's like, any day now. I'm just waiting for a sign. He holds up a little jar, and there's a live, tiny sample of the blob that he picked up when it was in crystalline form and frozen. And it was now thawed and, like, ready to go. So he's going to release that on the world, and everyone's going to get blobbed. So that was The Blob 1988. Solid movie. This is the first time I had seen it. I had actually seen the original, it was the 50s or 60s one or whatever, and I like that one too for what it is, but this one is good. I'm gonna go and say it's cheesy 80s good. So with that in mind, I'm gonna give it an 8.52. 8.52. That is my rating for The Blob. It is good. It's fun. It's a little ridiculous. Just go into it with an open mind, realizing it was made in the 80s. That's your thing. So, some of the acting, some of the characters, the way they're dressed and their hair and stuff, it's like, it's very 80s. But the scenes with the blob itself, it attacking, like the effects, solid. Very good movie. Check it out. That's about all I gotta say. Good movie. Alright, take her easy. Adios.